Broke, don't need a four heater, but you can 4 feet approach me. I'm summoning focus of Gogeta. Slight work, so imagine me chilling when folks meet up, cause my.
All right, welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Let's just get right to it. Ronda Rousey threw a napalm bomb, probably from her palatial palace, somewhere, wherever she lives, while she was probably kicking her feet up, eating banana and peanut butter sandwiches, pregnant somewhere, and just went on about her day. She tossed this flaming Molotov cocktail onto Twitter, pissed off all the wrestling journalists and all their sycophants. Most normal people read this comment and was like, you know what, she's right. Everybody else was being disingenuous, decided to misread this comment on purpose, and we got to talk about it. What did Ronda Rousey say? What was her exact words? Ronda Rousey's exact words: I've seen you fans in quotation, chanting "We want Wyatt" last night, chanting "We want beach balls" over Bray Wyatt performing. If the WWE treated him like he was expendable, it was because you ungrateful idiots did it first. So, what is she saying here? What she's saying here is that people are now chanting "We want Wyatt," but when they had Wyatt, they were saying he sucked. They were saying he was boring. They were chanting "We want beach balls." They were doing all sorts of other things. Not to mention, when he first showed up, people were chanting Husky Harris at him. So I was just getting into a quote-unquote debate, lightweight debate, with a guy on Twitter about this whole thing. People were like, oh, everybody loved Bray Wyatt when he first showed up. I was like, people were chanting Husky Harris at him. The harassment of Bray Wyatt never really stopped. Okay? Now, all the wrestling journalists who represent a very small percentage of the audience, and it's always a very small percentage of the audience, because Bray Wyatt, no doubt, is a successful character. The character was a merchandise machine. That's why they made that crazy belt with the Fiend's face on it, because they knew that the Fiend could make money. Okay? They didn't fire the Fiend over fan reactions. That's not why they fired him. And this is not about people firing Bray Wyatt over fan reactions. This is about people being fake, being phony, being fugazi, being cubic zirconia in their feelings. You're a liar. You're a hypocrite. Hypocrites. That's what she's saying. She's saying you're a hypocrite. She's not saying that the WWE fired Bray Wyatt because of fan reaction. And guess what? That's what all of the wrestling intelligentsia seems to believe. This is the narrative Dave Meltzer is pushing. Dave Meltzer, the godfather of wrestling journalists, is pushing this narrative. This is what he says. Please, blaming fans for somebody being cut when management made the decision. What a cop-out. Next thing you know, people will blame John Laurinaitis for these decisions. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? All she said is people are being fake. People are being fake. That's all she said. Is when Bray Wyatt was out there, you guys were saying it was fake. There was no "We want Wyatt" chance. He's been on the roster for, 10 years? There was never any "We want Wyatt" chance. Now, there was some "We got the whole world in his hands." There was some pretty cool chance for Wyatt, sure. People loved him. The vast majority of the audience liked him. The vast majority of the audience liked him. There was a small percentage of the audience that didn't like him. There was a very small percentage of the audience that didn't like him. And that very small percentage of the audience that didn't like Bray Wyatt were routinely harassing Bray Wyatt. Now, maybe harassment is maybe that's a strong word. But Dave Meltzer's newsletter voted Bray Wyatt in some type of negative terms over half a dozen times. Let's go through this. Most overrated, 2020. Worst gimmick, 2017. Worst gimmick, 2020. Worst feud of the year, 2017 versus Randy Orton. Worst feud of the year, 2019 versus Seth Rollins. Worst feud of the year, 2020 versus Braun Strowman. Worst worked match of the year, 2014 versus John Cena. Worst worked match of the year, 2017 versus Randy Orton. Worst match of the year, 2019 versus Seth Rollins. Worst match of the year, 2020 versus Braun Strowman at Extreme Rules. The very small percentage of people who chanted "We want Wyatt" because they want to disrupt Raw were the people voting him worst gimmick, worst wrestler, etc., etc. And now that Ronda Rousey called them out, now they're changing the narrative. Now they're trying to say, oh, no. We didn't get him fired. It's like she didn't say you got him fired. That does not appear in anything Ronda Rousey said. That's your guilty conscience. That's your guilty conscience, brother. That's your guilty conscience, brother. That ain't what she said. That is not what she said. She said, y'all treated him like he was expendable. That's what she said. That the business would be better off without him. And this is not the only time. He's not the only one. He ain't the only one. There's been people shitting on Bray Wyatt for years. Sean Ross Sapp. I'm completely over him as a character. 2017. Sean Ross Sapp. And then when he was confronted with this after Bray Wyatt was released, he says WWE should probably have helped them out by not booking shitty matches. Huh. Oh, okay. So you voted somebody worst gimmick over bad matches? Bad matches. What the fuck does a gimmick have to do with a match? You can have the best gimmick and still have a bad match. You can have a shitty gimmick and still have a good match. It seems to me that people just decided they didn't like Bray Wyatt and they were just going to shit on him. And shit on him they did. Repeatedly. They shit on him so much, Bray Wyatt even talked about it on his Instagram. This is a picture I used before. This is what Bray Wyatt says. This is from January 2020. The Wyndham Rotunda. You are stale. They ruined you. He is boring. I hate his matches. My life is art. My art successes and my loved ones are the only exit I have from my mental health. You have no idea how much a thoughtless comment on social media can directly affect the person you are sending it to. With great power comes great responsibility. The negativity in our world is astonishing, and mental health is at an all-time decline. Be better. It could save a life. They saved mine. I love you, JoJo. I love you, kids. I love you, Mom. Voted him worst gimmick. And then they put it on his Wikipedia account. So, hey, because Mark shit is so important, it has to go on your Wikipedia account. I never understood that anyway. Why do Mark awards go on your Wikipedia account? That doesn't make any sense. So now he gets fired. And we still don't know whether he got fired, or whether he just, had to leave and there's some other things going on. We still don't know. But all we know is Ronda Rousey came in and got the internet tapping out. They're flailing and just tapping all over the place. There's people in here selling like Dolph Ziggler. In their feelings because they got called out. And deservedly so. Fuck them. Deservedly so. I've always been a fan of Bray Wyatt. That doesn't mean I like everything that he did. I'm a big fan of Chris Jericho. I don't like everything Chris Jericho does. I've enjoyed some Bray Wyatt matches that other people said were terrible. I thought they were not that bad. I have a different mileage. But all of these people who are everybody needs to work like they're in New Japan, they hate Bray Wyatt. And they let it be known. They were very vocal in how much they hate him. So why then did we start seeing all these people chant, "We want Wyatt"? Why? They knew he wasn't going to be there. Because you were disruptive. And this is the weird thing. I've had people come into my videos or tweet at me ever since I've been putting this stuff out there all day. And people have said to me, Mongo, WWE writes bad shows. They open the door for the what chants, the "We want Wyatt" chants, the CM Punk chants. They wouldn't do that if they were really engaged in the show. What they, of course, ignore is that not only, in this specific, when we talk about this one Raw that just passed, there was people talking about that the day before the show. How many CM Punk chants do you think we're going to get at this show? Instead of saying, please don't do the CM Punk chants. I mean, it's over. 7 years. Stop doing it. No, it's like, they're going to chant CM Punk. That's going to be great. How many, are they going to chant for Bray Wyatt tonight? Why would you put that out there if that's not what you wanted? That's what you wanted them to do. You wanted them to try to hijack the show. And as a matter of fact, if we're talking about this specific show, people were chanting for CM Punk before the show started. There's almost always this case of people chanting for CM Punk before the show starts. And it's always a minute number of people who do it. It's never the entire crowd. So the idea that there's like, I don't know, how many people were that Raw? Let's say 10,000. That there's 10,000 people chanting for CM Punk? No. It's probably 200, 300. And they're very loud. And they're very organized. And then they get a couple of other people to chant with them. And then you can hear them on TV because even though it's not everybody, it's enough of them to carry over on TV. And then guess what? These wrestling journalists, the wrestling media, they blow it up. They've been talking about that shit all day. Fans hijack Raw. Cultaholic and, what else that other one? Whatever they call themselves. Everybody's talking about it. The fans hijacked Raw. That's been the gimmick for years now. This ain't nothing new. Why do you think everybody is stupid all of a sudden? Why people ain't dumb, dog? People ain't stupid. Y'all been trying to hijack the show for years. And that's why I say that Raw being terrible is the show you deserved. And I 100% agree with Ronda Rousey. But we got to do Smark tears. We got to do Smark tears. We got to do it. Probably do about 8 or 9 minutes of Smark tears. Because there's going to be some people who are going to be, that's going to make some arguments that I'm not thinking of. Let's see. So Ronda Rousey blames fans for WWE releasing Bray Wyatt. All because in 2018, they chanted, "We want beach balls" at him. She does know Wyatt was also a top merch seller in 2019, right? He made WWE a lot of money because fans liked him. Bad take, Ronda. Pause. We're talking about the fandom. Here's the thing about the WWE fandom. The WWE fans consist of a small nucleus of hardcore fans versus all the normies that go to the show. Everything that I've been saying has been about the small nucleus of people who hate just about everything. It doesn't matter. They hate everything. All the people buying the Fiend merchandise were people who are not going to go to the Wrestling Observer and vote him worst gimmick and say that he has the worst matches. Those are going to be people who are going to buy the t-shirts. The people who buying the t-shirts and buying the masks and love the Fiend are not the people chanting for beach balls. That's the Wrestling Observer newsletter crowd. Because those are the people who think that you can just go to the show and boo the baby faces and do all this terrible disruptive shit. And they've been doing it for years. That's not anything new. So, yeah. No. Let's not do that. Let's not play that game, sir. Bye. In the mirror at what you're doing to talent. It's not Ronda's or WWE's fault. It's yours. Absolutely. That's oh boy. That's absolute. He said, quote, somebody said, "We can still enjoy a character and the creative mind that Bray Wyatt has, but still recognize shit booking from the company when we see it. But of course, when in doubt, blame the fans." Okay. Yes, that's the case. You can still understand shit booking. Why is he voted worst gimmick though? And this guy's probably somebody from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, I bet. What does that have to do with being voted worst gimmick? Worst worked match. What the fuck they got to do with the... See, people just say booking and just encompass everything into booking. Right? They don't even know what they're talking about. It's just a word that they use because some wrestling journalist they listen to uses the word. So, it is what it is. Then somebody says, "Ronda, honey, it's the booking of the Bray Wyatt, not the man himself." I'm sorry. Bray Wyatt saw what you guys were saying. That he was stale. That he sucked. that he can't work. The fucking category is called worst worked match of the year. This is what you did. This is what, blame the fans. They're blaming the fans. They're blaming the fans for what the fans did. WWE takes blame for what they did. Of course, they're not going to go out here and start talking about booking. If you talk about, well, the booking changed fan perceptions, like, no. You can have the best booking in the world and have a shitty gimmick. Look at Orange Cassidy. But he didn't get voted shittiest gimmick. His gimmick is he kicks people in the knees and doesn't do anything. He worked in a match which Orange Juice didn't win worse. How many people forgot that match happened? The Orange Juice match between him and Chris Jericho. How many people forgot about that? Huh. Neither. I don't remember what match it was, but I believe it's obviously true because it got so many people selling. People wouldn't be selling it so hard if it didn't happen. Oh, it was Matt Hardy. Or somebody says it here. Say what you want about Ronda Rousey, but she's right here. I remember the beach ball match between Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Let's not. I don't see anybody producing anything that's smart. I don't see. There's nothing to. Okay. Somebody again. We don't hate Bray. We hated the booking. Again, it's people retreating to the booking argument, right? It's a retreat. You do something by saying that he's got the worst gimmick, that he's got. For starters, they said he was his worst gimmick was him being Sister Abigail. If I remember correctly, the whole thing with him dressed as Sister Abigail was canceled. It didn't actually occur. So how did he get worst gimmick for being Sister Abigail? He never even wrestled the match as Sister Abigail. Right, because he's supposed to wrestle Finn Balor, right? And that match did not take place. And it ended up being Finn Balor and AJ Styles. You know what? I'm actually very, very... Ooh, I want so badly to continue. As a matter of fact, let's do this. Ah, yes. Let's do a little bit deeper. This is from Bleacher Report. From October 10th, 2017. Bray Wyatt's Sister Abigail, alter ego, an instant fail for WWE. WWE has already lost its way with Bray Wyatt when it wandered into the bizarre stretch of Raw landscape that was home to Sister Abigail. The Eater of Worlds has been no stranger to poor writing, misguided ideas, and off-the-mark booking. So perhaps it didn't shock him when WWE asked him to don a dark veil and speak through a voice box as he morphed into a female spirit on screen. Now, how do we know that he was asked to do that and that wasn't his idea? We don't know. Let's get into the important part. Sister Abigail was not an actual person or a debuting female star as many suspected, but instead a ghostly figure that Wyatt channeled. The scene was corny, low-rate, laughable. The Indianapolis crowd fell silent at her unveiling. The critics pounced. ProWrestling.net columnist Jason Powell wrote, Sister Abigail speaking through Bray Wyatt is absurd. Danny Buckholder of CBS Sports tweeted, Bummer that all that build-up, Sister Abigail is just auto-tune Bray Wyatt. The Wrestling Inc. crew isn't a fan of it either. Raj, that'd be Raj Giri, says that Sister Abigail stuff is terrible. He's wrestling as a spirit woman. Matt fell asleep during this segment, probably for the best. Hard to blame them. This is an ill-advised concept that came off as more silly than scary. It's going to further damage Bray Wyatt's aura. Wyatt wrestling in Sister Abigail garb is going to crack up the crowd. So, again, people are talking about the booking. They talk about how creative he was, how much creativity he had. This was probably his idea. Well, of course, we won't know it. We won't know it for any time soon. Okay, we won't know until he does his obligatory Talk Is Jericho interview. But that's them doing this kind of thing, right? The company has scripted convoluted stories for him. It saddled him with B-movie special effects. At Extreme Rules 2014, a kid in a choir robe distracted John Cena with his demonic singing voice. Wyatt projecting worms and insects onto the mat at WrestleMania 33 flopped. The House of Horror match underwhelmed. The locale looking more like a dirty rental than a monster's lair. It's fallen flat on to various degrees. WWE Creative looks out of its element when handling Wyatt's narrative, and that is especially clear with Sister Abigail reveal. Let me read that clear so it be a little bit more clearly. And that is especially clear with the Sister Abigail reveal. Fans are going to struggle to buy into Wyatt's alter ego. It's asking a lot of the audience to accept a phantom playing puppet master with his body. And then we got the demon monster not too long after this. Of course it's absurd. Everything Wyatt is doing is absurd. And here's the thing. Here's another issue. People thought so badly that Sister Abigail wanted to be another person. They wanted it to be a female wrestler. I have always said that Sister Abigail works best from an archetypal perspective as a spirit character, not as an actual person. If you can touch it, you can beat it. If you can beat it, it loses its power. It never needed to be a person. Okay. But these are the wrestling journalists who are all of a sudden talking about how, he was so creative. And GameSpot, same thing. WWE's Bray Wyatt and Sister Abigail storyline is a bad idea. That's just the headline. There is so many of these things. See, Sister Abigail, the demon, one of the many bad matches at WWE TLC. We can go through and do this stuff all the time. We can do this. We can go through this, and that's how people saw him. Okay, people saw, and then of course it was it's the booking, man. It's the booking. How do you know how much of that shit that he came up with it on his own? See, that's such a weird. That's why this is a cop out. The whole we're gonna blame the booking. Because you don't know what is his idea and what is the idea of the company. You don't know. So what just happens is, if it's good, then Bray did it. And it's all great because he did it. He came up with it all on his own. But if it's shit, then it's, they booked him this way. It's like, what? What? You don't know either way. And to be quite honest, considering it didn't happen, we don't even know whether it was going to be bad or not. This is the typical bullshit that you get from that core audience, that core batch of fucking knuckleheads. They shit on things before they even happen. And then they say that he sucks. They say that he's boring. They say that he's stale. Then he gets fired. And all of a sudden, oh my God, he was such a creative genius. I loved him so much. He was so smart. We don't know. Like some of these things that didn't work out, some of the, the B-movie stuff and a lot of this stuff is stuff that he wanted to do. I don't know how much of that stuff is stuff he wanted to do. We don't know. But that's the thing, man. People were being overly critical of the character. And now they don't have the character to be critical of. We want Wyatt. Fuck you. Meltzer, all these assholes, man. They're full of shit. They've been ripping this dude apart for years. Now all of a sudden, he's a creative genius. I mean, they're fools for letting him go. It's like, oh, okay, I guess. You're saying that all the gimmicks and stuff was stupid. All the fireworks, all the flames, all the CGI. People. So I don't buy this shit, bro. I mean, let it go. Y'all gotta eat the L, man. Y'all gotta eat the L. You didn't like him anyway. It's okay. It's all right to be like, look, we didn't like the guy anyway, but he had fans. It's a much better way to look at things. That's how I look at things when people I don't like get fired. I don't all of a sudden just start chanting that I want them now. I look at it like, okay, what's gone is gone. Maybe I'll appreciate them more later. But this fake shit, this phony shit from these people who want to hijack the show, man, fuck out of here. If it was from legitimate fans who were legitimately, okay and cool with Bray Wyatt, that would be one thing. But it's not. It's from the wrestling media who didn't like him anyway, who was shitting on him anyway. That's what it's from. So fuck them. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. sponsor the channel via Subscribe Star or via Cash App. And I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
Skin tone, so why attach yourself and piggyback the wealth you didn't earn or lack yourself? I'm telling you to own up to your own success and failures. It's a reason why these sleazy guys